Lisa Harper walked through the empty halls of the human embassy. Her footsteps echoed in the silence. For 30 years, these halls had been full of people. Diplomats, traders, scientists, and visitors from Earth moved through these corridors every day. Now they were all gone. She stopped at the large window that looked out over Nexus Prime. The city stretched as far as she could see. Tall buildings reached into the purple sky. Flying vehicles moved between them like streams of light. This was the center of galactic civilization, the place where 1,000 different species came together to trade, talk, and make deals. Lisa had spent 15 years here as Earth's ambassador. She knew every corner of this embassy. She had made friends with aliens from dozens of worlds. She had helped write trade agreements that brought prosperity to human colonies. Now she was the last human left on Nexus Prime. The order had come 3 days ago. President Kate Morrison herself had sent the message. All humans were to leave Council space immediately. All diplomatic missions were to close. All trade agreements were suspended. Earth was cutting all ties with the Galactic Council. Lisa understood why. The Council had gone too far this time. For months they had been complaining about human expansion. They said humans were growing too fast. They said human colonies were taking up too much space. They said humans needed to slow down and learn their place in the galaxy. The final insult came when the Council voted to block human expansion into the Outer Rim. They said it was for the good of established species. They said humans were too aggressive. They said humans needed to be controlled. Lisa remembered the day she received that news. She had been in a meeting with Zethkree, the Council's Prime Minister. He was an Altarian with blue skin and 4 arms. He had delivered the news with what he probably thought was kindness. "Ambassador Harper," he had said, "surely you understand that young species must learn patience. The galaxy is old. There are rules. There are ways things must be done." Lisa had smiled and nodded. She had thanked him for his wisdom. She had promised to relay the message to Earth. But inside she was already planning for this day. The Council members thought they knew humans. They thought humans were just another young species, eager to please and easy to control. They had no idea what they were dealing with. Lisa picked up her personal belongings from her desk. There wasn't much left. Most of the embassy had already been packed and shipped out. The last transport would leave in 2 hours, and she would be on it. She walked to the communications center one last time. The room was dark except for the emergency lights. All the screens were blank. For the first time in 30 years, there was no communication between Earth and the Council worlds. Captain Ryan Blake was already aboard his ship when Lisa arrived at the spaceport. The Earth Defense Force captain had been waiting for this day. His ship, the Liberty, was one of 50 human vessels leaving Council space. Every human merchant ship, every diplomatic transport, every research vessel was heading home. "Ambassador," Ryan said as Lisa boarded. "Are you ready for this?" Lisa nodded. Earth has been ready for this longer than anyone knows. The Liberty lifted off from Nexus Prime's main spaceport. Lisa watched through the viewport as the planet grew smaller. She had called this place home for 15 years. She had friends here, but she felt no sadness leaving. Only anticipation. As they cleared the planet's atmosphere, Lisa saw the other human ships. They moved in perfect formation, like they had practiced this evacuation 1,000 times, which, she realized, they probably had. The Council had made a serious mistake. They thought cutting off human expansion would teach humans a lesson. They thought humans would come crawling back, begging for permission to continue growing. They thought humans needed the Council more than the Council needed humans. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Back on Nexus Prime, Prime Minister Zethkree watched the human ships leave. He stood in his office at the top of the Council building. Through his window he could see the streams of light as human vessels departed the system. "Sir," his aide said, "all human ships have left Council space. The embargo is complete." Zethkree nodded. "Good. Perhaps now they will learn some humility." But even as he said the words, something felt wrong. In his 200 years of life, He had seen many species join the council. He had seen them struggle and adapt. He had seen them accept their place in the galactic order. But he had never seen a species simply walk away. The other council members were celebrating. The Vorthon representative had called it a victory for galactic stability. The Meridian delegate said it proved that young species could be controlled. Even the usually cautious Zarian ambassador seemed pleased. But Zethkri felt uneasy. He had studied human history before they joined the council. Humans were different from other species. They had conquered their entire planet before they even learned to travel between stars. They had fought wars that lasted decades. They had survived disasters that would have destroyed other civilizations. And now they were gone. Not defeated, not conquered, not broken. They had simply chosen to leave. That worried him more than he cared to admit. In the Sol system, President Kate Morrison stood in the Situation Room deep beneath the White House. Around her, the best minds in the human government were already implementing the next phase of their plan. "Status report," she said. Defense Secretary Ben Carter spoke first. "All our people are out of council space, every ship, every diplomat, every trader. We're completely dark to them now." "Good. And our preparations?" Chief of Technology Linda Walsh smiled. 30 years of holding back, Madam President. We're ready to show them what humans can really do." For 3 decades, humanity had played a careful game. They had shared some technology with the Council, but not their best. They had grown steadily, but not as fast as they could have. They had appeared eager to learn when in truth they had been teaching themselves. The Council thought they had put humans in their place. They thought they had shown humans who was really in charge of the galaxy. They had no idea that humanity's silence was not surrender. It was preparation. 3 months had passed since the last human ship left Council space. At first, most aliens thought nothing would change. Humans were just one species among hundreds. How much difference could they make? The answer came faster than anyone expected. The trade world of Kepler Station, Dock Supervisor Meltar stared at his empty cargo bays. For the 3rd week in a row, shipments were late. The cargo ships that should have been carrying goods between the inner worlds and the rim colonies were nowhere to be found. "Where are the freight haulers?" he asked his assistant. "Sir, most of them were human companies. They're not coming back." Meltar felt his stomach drop. He pulled up the shipping records on his computer. The numbers were worse than he thought. Human shipping companies had been handling almost half of all cargo transport in this sector. Without them, trade was grinding to a halt. On the research station orbiting Kepler 442, Dr. Velnara stood in an empty laboratory. Just 3 months ago, this had been the most advanced physics research facility in the galaxy, human and alien. Scientists had worked side by side to unlock the secrets of faster-than-light communication. Dr. Alan Foster had been the lead researcher. His theories about quantum entanglement had brought them closer to instant communication across any distance than anyone had thought possible. When he left, he took 30 years of research with him. "Can we continue the project without him?" Dr. Velnara asked her team. The other scientists looked uncomfortable. "Ma'am, Dr. Foster wrote most of the theoretical framework. Without his notes, we're starting from zero." The mining world of Zirion 7 was facing an even bigger problem. Operations manager Jake Sullivan had been running the largest rare mineral extraction operation in the sector. His human industrial equipment could dig deeper and extract more efficiently than anything the galaxy had ever seen. When Jake left, he shut down everything. The massive machines sat silent in the mining pits. Local workers tried to operate them, but the technology was too advanced. Worse, the machines were locked with security codes that only humans knew. Within weeks, the mining operation went from the most profitable in the sector to completely worthless. Council Economic Advisor Veltara prepared her monthly report with growing alarm. The numbers were bad and getting worse every day. The Meridian Confederation's economy had dropped by 15%. The Vorthon Empire was reporting supply shortages across 12 star systems. Even the wealthy inner worlds were feeling the impact. She walked into the council chamber with a thick folder of data. The representatives from various species sat in their usual seats, but the mood was very different from 3 months ago. "Honored council members," she began, "I must report that the human withdrawal is having significant economic effects." Prime Minister Zethkri leaned forward. "How significant?" "Trade volume is down 38% across all sectors. Shipping delays are causing shortages of essential goods. Several major research projects have been suspended. Industrial output in the Rim colonies has dropped by half." The Vorthan representative stood up. "This is temporary. Other species will fill the gap left by humans." Veltara shook her head. "Respectfully, sir, that's not what the data shows. Human technology and methods were more advanced than we realized. Replacing them will take years, possibly decades." The chamber erupted in angry voices. Representatives blamed each other for the crisis. Some demanded that humans be forced to return. Others insisted that the galaxy was better off without them. But in the quiet moments between arguments, Veltara noticed something troubling. Several representatives were looking at reports from their home worlds. Reports of economic problems, supply shortages, and growing unrest. Meanwhile, in the Sol system, Admiral Claire Brooks stood on the bridge of the newest Earth Defense Force ship. The vessel didn't have a name yet because it used technology that wasn't supposed to exist. "Status. Report on Operation Silent Running," she said. Commander Danny Pierce checked his screens. "Phase 2 is proceeding on schedule, Admiral. All research facilities are operating at full capacity. The new shipyards are ahead of schedule." Admiral Brooks smiled. For 30 years, humanity had been building in secret. Hidden research stations in the outer planets, underground factories on distant moons, technologies that the Council thought were impossible. The Council had seen what humans wanted them to see. Efficient but not too advanced ships. Useful but not revolutionary technology. A growing but manageable civilization. They had never seen the real human industrial capacity. They had never seen the weapons that could crack planets. They had never seen the engines that could fold space itself. "Any word from our observers?" Admiral Brooks asked. "Yes, ma'am. Council space is exactly as chaotic as we predicted. Their economy is collapsing without our support systems. On Earth, President Morrison met with her cabinet in a secure bunker deep under the Rocky Mountains. The room was filled with screens showing data from across the galaxy. The plan is working better than we hoped," Defense Secretary Carter reported. "Council worlds are reporting significant problems. Their leaders are starting to panic." "Any signs they're considering military action?" the President asked. Chief of Technology Walsh laughed. "They're welcome to try. Our new defensive systems are online. They have no idea what they would be facing." The President nodded. "Good, but remember, we're not trying to destroy them. We're teaching them respect." For 3 decades, humanity had played the role of eager students learning from wise alien teachers. They had asked permission for everything. They had shared their discoveries freely. They had accepted limitations on their growth and expansion. But it had all been an act. Behind the scenes, human scientists and engineers had been working on projects that would revolutionize galactic civilization. They had developed technologies that made Council science look primitive. They had built an industrial base that could outproduce entire star systems. Most importantly, they had learned everything they could about their alien neighbors. Their strengths, their weaknesses, their dependencies, their fears. Now it was time to put that knowledge to use. Back on Nexus Prime, Prime Minister Zethkri read the latest reports from across Council space. The situation was getting worse every day. Trade routes were breaking down. Research projects were failing. Industrial worlds were going dark. He called an emergency session of the Council leadership. When they gathered in his private office, he could see the worry in their faces. "How long can this continue?" he asked. Economic Advisor Veltara looked at her datapad. "At this rate, we're looking at complete economic collapse within a year, maybe less." "Then we need to bring the humans back," said the Vorthan representative. "And how do you suggest we do that?" Zethkri asked. "We cut them off. They didn't fight back, they just left. We have no way to contact them." The room fell silent. For the first time, the Council leaders were beginning to understand what they had done. They had thought they were disciplining a troublesome young species. Instead, they had cut out the heart of their civilization. Somewhere in the darkness, between the stars, human ships moved with technologies that bent the laws of physics. They were preparing for something. The question was what? 6 months had passed since humanity went silent. The situation in council space was getting desperate. What had started as minor inconveniences had grown into a full crisis that threatened the stability of galactic civilization. General Krickstar, of the Council Defense Forces, stood before an emergency meeting of the military committee. His scales were dark with stress, and his usual confident manner had been replaced by obvious worry. "Honored members," he began, "I must report that our analysis of the human withdrawal has revealed disturbing information." The committee members leaned forward. These were the military leaders of the most powerful species in the galaxy. They had fought wars that lasted centuries. They had conquered entire star systems. But the look in their eyes was something new. Fear. "What kind of information?" asked Admiral Kelros of the Meridian Fleet. General Krickstar activated a holographic display. It showed shipping routes, trade data, and military deployments across the galaxy. Red zones marked areas where human withdrawal had caused serious problems. "We always knew humans were involved in galactic commerce," he said. "What we didn't realize was how deeply they had integrated into our systems. They weren't just participants in our civilization. They were holding it together." The display zoomed in on the Vorthan Empire. "Look at this sector. Human freight companies. We're handling 70% of cargo transport. Without them, the Empire's outer colonies are running out of basic supplies." Another section of the map lit up. Here in Altarian space, human industrial equipment was processing 60% of raw materials. Those facilities are now shut down. Unemployment is rising, social unrest is beginning. The most shocking revelation came when the display showed the Council's own infrastructure. Even here on Nexus Prime, humans were managing critical systems we didn't know about. Power distribution, waste processing, atmospheric recycling. They made these systems so efficient we forgot how they worked without human technology. Admiral Kelros stood up. "Are you saying humans deliberately made us dependent on them?" "I'm saying they made themselves indispensable while appearing to be junior partners," General Krickstar replied. "It was brilliant strategy." The room erupted in angry voices. Some demanded immediate military action against Earth. Others insisted that humans must be forced back to the negotiating table. The loudest voices called for a fleet to be sent to Sol System to bring humans back by force. General Krickstar waited for the noise to die down. "There's more. Our intelligence division has detected unusual activity at the edge of human space." The display changed to show long-range sensor readings from the border between Council space and the Sol System. Strange energy signatures appeared and disappeared. Ships that moved faster than anything should be able to move. Technology that violated known laws of physics. "What are we looking at?" someone asked. "We're not sure. Our best analysis suggests humans are testing new technologies we've never seen before." On Earth, President Morrison stood in the command center of a facility that didn't officially exist. Located deep under the Colorado mountains, this was where humanity's real military leaders planned their next moves. Chief of Technology Walsh stood beside a massive holographic display showing the entire galaxy. Green dots marked human positions. Red zones showed Council territories experiencing problems. "Phase 3 is ready to begin," Walsh reported. "Our new vessels are prepared for deployment." Defense Secretary Carter looked worried. "Are we sure about this? Once we reveal our true capabilities, there's no going back." President Morrison nodded. "The Council needs to understand what they're dealing with. They need to see that we've been holding back." The door opened and Admiral Brooks entered. She had just returned from the outer system where humanity's most secret projects were being tested. Her expression was satisfied, but serious. "The prototype performed perfectly," she announced. "Lieutenant Commander Amy Ross completed the test. Flight without any problems. The Council ships couldn't even track her movement." Amy Ross was one of humanity's best pilots. She had volunteered to test technology that pushed the boundaries of what was possible. The ship she flew didn't just move faster than light. It moved in ways that made other faster-than-light travel look primitive. "How did the Council ships react?" President Morrison asked. Admiral Brooks smiled grimly. Panic. Complete panic. They couldn't understand what they were seeing. Their sensors couldn't lock onto the ship. Their weapons couldn't target it. As far as they could tell, we had just broken the laws of physics. The truth was that humanity had been breaking those laws for years. The physics that the Council understood were incomplete. Human scientists had discovered principles that allowed for technologies the galaxy had never imagined. For 30 years, humanity had shared only the safest discoveries with their alien neighbors. They had kept the revolutionary breakthroughs secret. They had built weapons, ships, and industrial systems that would have terrified the Council if they had known about them. Now it was time to show a small sample of what humans could do. On the border patrol ship Vigilant, Captain Zareth of the HFY Meridian Fleet stared at his sensor readings in disbelief. For the third time this week, something impossible had appeared on his screens. "Sir, we're detecting another anomalous contact," his sensor operator reported. "Same as before?" "Yes, sir. Massive energy signature, moving at impossible speeds. It appeared from nowhere and disappeared just as quickly." Captain Zareth had been patrolling this sector for 20 years. He had seen every type of ship the galaxy had to offer. He had fought pirates, smugglers, and enemy fleets. But these contacts were unlike anything in his experience. "Any response to our hails?" "Nothing, sir. Whatever it is, it's not communicating." The captain made a decision that would change everything. "Launch a probe. I want detailed scans of the area where it appeared." The probe moved toward the coordinates where the mysterious contact had been detected. For several minutes, it transmitted normal readings. Then suddenly its data stream showed something that made the entire bridge crew gasp. The probe had detected a ship. But this wasn't any ship they recognized. It was massive, sleek, and clearly built with technology beyond anything the Council possessed, and it was definitely human. "Get me a priority channel to Council Command," Captain Zareth ordered. "They need to see this immediately." Within hours, the probe's data was being analyzed by the Council's best scientists and military experts. What they found shook the foundations of everything they thought they knew about humans. The ship was not just advanced. It was impossibly advanced. Its hull materials were unknown. Its energy systems operated on principles that Council science said were impossible. Its weapons signatures suggested destructive power beyond imagination. But the most terrifying discovery was that this was clearly just a prototype. The construction showed signs of being a test model, not a finished warship. If this was what humans were testing, what did their completed vessels look like? Director of Intelligence Malketh stood before the Council with a report that would change galactic history. His usually calm demeanor had been replaced by barely controlled fear. "Honored Council members," he began, "our analysis of human activity suggests we have made a catastrophic error in judgment." Prime Minister Zethkri felt his hearts racing. "Explain." "For 30 years, we believed humans were a young species, learning from their galactic neighbors. We now have evidence that the opposite was true. They were studying us while secretly developing technologies that make our most advanced systems look primitive." The chamber fell silent. Representatives who had been celebrating humanity's departure 3 months ago now sat in stunned silence. Every restriction we placed on them, every limitation we imposed was accepted without resistance because they didn't need our permission for anything. They were building their own civilization in secret, one that doesn't need us at all. Malketh activated a display showing the mysterious ship detected by Captain Zareth. "This single vessel represents technology we cannot understand, let alone duplicate, and we believe it's just the beginning." The question that hung in the air was one nobody wanted to ask. If this was what humans could build in secret, what else were they hiding? The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been going on for 6 hours. Representatives from dozens of species filled the great chamber, but the mood was unlike anything in the Council's 1,000-year history. Fear hung in the air like smoke. Prime Minister Zethkri looked older than his 200 years. The reports coming in from across Council space painted a picture of civilization in collapse. Economic systems were failing. Supply chains had broken down. Research projects had stopped. Industrial worlds were going dark. But worse than the economic crisis was the growing realization of what humanity had really been doing for the past 30 years. Director of Human Affairs Kelnos stood at the center of the chamber. She had spent her entire career studying human civilization. Now she had to explain to the council how wrong they had all been. "Honored members," she began, "I must present evidence that changes everything we thought we knew about humans." The main display activated, showing a timeline of human development since they joined the council. To most observers, it looked like the normal progress of a growing civilization. Kelnos highlighted specific events. Here, 15 years ago, humans requested permission to establish mining colonies in the Outer Rim. We limited them to 3 worlds. They accepted without argument. She moved to another point on the timeline. 10 years ago, they asked for access to advanced manufacturing techniques. We shared some basic technologies. They thanked us and said it would help them catch up to galactic standards. 5 years ago, they proposed a joint research project on faster-than-light communication. We agreed, thinking their fresh perspective might be useful. The timeline continued with dozens of similar events. In each case, humans had made modest requests, accepted limitations, and appeared grateful for whatever help they received. What we didn't understand, Kelnos continued, was that every request was carefully calculated. They weren't asking for help. They were studying us. The display changed to show hidden human activities that intelligence services had only recently discovered. Secret research stations, underground factories, industrial complexes that had been hidden for decades. While we thought they were building 3 mining colonies, they were actually establishing dozens of facilities across multiple star systems. While we thought they were learning basic manufacturing, they were developing industrial processes that make our best factories look primitive. The most shocking revelation came next. The joint research project on faster-than-light communication wasn't humans learning from us. It was them studying our limitations. They already had communication technology that operates instantly across any distance. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Representatives shouted accusations at each other. Some blamed the intelligence services for failing to detect human activities. Others blamed the diplomatic corps for being too trusting. Admiral Kelros of the Meridian Fleet stood up. "This means humans have been lying to us for 30 years. They've been building a secret empire while pretending to be our students." "Not lying," Kelnos corrected. "Everything they told us was technically true. They just didn't tell us everything. When they said they were grateful for our help, they were. When they said they were learning from us, they were. They just weren't learning what we thought they were learning." General Crickstar activated another display. "Our military analysis suggests the situation is even worse than we realized. Every human ship that visited Council space was gathering intelligence. Every diplomatic meeting was a chance to study our capabilities. Every trade negotiation gave them access to our economic systems." The display showed human ship movements over the past 30 years. What had appeared to be normal commercial and diplomatic traffic was actually a comprehensive intelligence operation. "They know everything about us," General Crickstar continued. "Our military capabilities, our economic weaknesses, our political divisions. While we were treating them as junior partners, they were preparing for this day." On the rim world of Centauri, Prime, Colony Administrator Peter Jackson received a priority transmission from Earth. The message was encrypted with codes that would have been impossible to break with Council technology. "Peter," the message began, "Phase 4 is beginning. You know what to do." Peter smiled as he read the detailed instructions. For 15 years he had been running what appeared to be a simple agricultural colony. The Council knew about the farms, the settlements, and the trade facilities. They didn't know about the underground installations that stretched for hundreds of kilometers beneath the surface. Centauri Prime wasn't just a farming world. It was one of humanity's most advanced research and manufacturing centers. The food production was real, but it was only a cover for activities that would reshape the galaxy. Peter activated communication systems that the Council didn't know existed. Within minutes, he was connected to similar facilities across human space. The network of hidden bases and secret installations was coming online. On Earth, President Morrison stood in the Situation Room with her top advisors. The screens around them showed the status of operations across the galaxy. Phase 4 was the most ambitious part of their plan. "Status report," she ordered. Defense Secretary Carter checked his displays. "All hidden facilities are online. Our agents in Council space are ready to proceed. The new fleet is prepared for deployment." Chief of Technology Walsh added, "The revelation protocols are ready. When we activate them, the Council will see exactly what we've been building." President Morrison nodded. For 30 years, humanity had been preparing for this moment. They had built a civilization that existed in the shadows of galactic society. They had developed technologies that would revolutionize how species lived and worked. They had created an industrial base that could support billions of people across hundreds of worlds. Most importantly, they had done it all while appearing to be dependent on Council guidance and support. "The Council thinks they're dealing with a young species that got upset and ran home," the President said. "They're about to learn they've been sharing the galaxy with a sleeping giant." Admiral Brooks entered the room with a report from the test operations. "The fleet trials are complete. Every system performed beyond expectations. The Council's best ships wouldn't last 5 minutes against our new vessels. And our defensive systems? Fully operational. If the Council decides to try military action, they'll discover that Earth is now the most heavily defended world in the galaxy. The technology humanity had developed in secret was beyond what any species had imagined possible. Ships that could appear and disappear at will. Weapons that could destroy planets. Shields that could deflect the energy of stars. Manufacturing systems that could build entire fleets in weeks instead of years. But the most powerful weapon humanity possessed was knowledge. They understood their alien neighbors better than those species understood themselves. They knew which worlds were critical to each empire. They knew which trade routes were vital to the galactic economy. They knew which leaders could be reasoned with and which ones would have to be dealt with more firmly. Back in the Council chamber, the debate was reaching a critical point. Some representatives still demanded military action against humanity. Others argued for immediate diplomatic contact to try to restore the previous relationship. Prime Minister Zethkri listened to the arguments with growing despair. The Council was facing the greatest crisis in its history, and nobody seemed to understand how to solve it. "Honored members," he finally said, "I believe we must accept a difficult truth. We are no longer dealing with a species we can control or intimidate. We are dealing with equals, perhaps more than equals." The Vorthon representative stood up angrily. "You're suggesting we surrender to these humans?" "I'm suggesting we acknowledge reality," Zethkri replied. "For 30 years we thought we were the teachers and they were the students. We now know the opposite was true. They were studying us, learning our weaknesses, preparing for this day." Director of Intelligence Malketh added the final piece of disturbing news. "Our latest reports suggest human activities are accelerating. Whatever they've been building in secret, they're preparing to reveal it. Soon." As if summoned by his words, alarms began sounding throughout the Council building. Emergency communication channels activated. Priority alerts flooded in from across the galaxy. A massive fleet had appeared at the edge of Council space. Ships unlike anything ever seen before moved in perfect formation toward the heart of galactic civilization. At their head was a vessel so large and advanced it made the Council's greatest warships look like toys. The fleet was broadcasting a simple message on all frequencies. "The Terran Commonwealth requests an audience with the Galactic Council." Humanity had returned. But these were not the same humans who had left 6 months ago. These were the representatives of a civilization that had been hiding in plain sight for 30 years. A civilization that was about to reshape the galaxy according to its own vision. The age of human restraint was over. The human fleet hung in space like a constellation of impossible stars. Each ship was a work of art and engineering that defied everything the galaxy thought it knew about physics. They moved without visible engines, their hulls seeming to bend, light around them. The largest vessel, positioned at the center of the formation, was 3 times the size of the Council's biggest warship. On Nexus Prime, every screen in the city showed the same image. The human fleet had arrived without warning, appearing from what sensors could only describe as folded space. They had bypassed every early warning system, every defensive position, every patrol ship, as if they simply didn't exist. In the council chamber, panic had given way to stunned silence. Representatives who had been arguing about how to handle humanity's absence now faced the reality of their return. The humans floating outside their world possessed technology that made the council's greatest achievements look like primitive tools. Prime Minister Zethkri stood at the main communication console. His hands shook slightly as he opened a channel to the human fleet. When the connection established, the main screen filled with the image of a human woman in a uniform unlike anything the council had seen before. "I am Lisa Harper, Commonwealth representative of the Terran people," she said. Her voice was calm, polite, and carried an undertone of absolute confidence. "I come to speak with the Galactic Council on behalf of humanity." The same Lisa Harper, who had been Earth's ambassador 6 months ago, now bore a different title and commanded a fleet that could probably conquer the galaxy. The transformation was both subtle and complete. "Ambassador Harper," Zethkri began, then caught himself. "Representative Harper, the Council welcomes your return. Perhaps we can discuss the recent misunderstanding." Lisa's smile was gentle, but her eyes were steel. "Prime Minister Zethkri, there was no misunderstanding. The Council chose to restrict human expansion and treat us as a problem to be managed. We chose to leave rather than submit to limitations we found unacceptable." She paused, letting the words sink in. "However, we have decided to return and establish new relationships based on mutual respect and accurate understanding of each party's capabilities." Director of Human Affairs Kelnos stepped forward. "Representative Harper, surely we can return to our previous arrangements. Humanity has always been a valued member of the galactic community." "Previous arrangements were based on deception," Lisa replied. "Not human deception, but council deception. You deceived yourselves about what humanity was and what we were capable of. That made honest partnership impossible." The main display changed to show the human fleet in detail. Each ship was broadcasting technical specifications that made council scientists weep. Energy output levels that should have required the power of a star. Defensive systems that could deflect planet-killing weapons. Manufacturing capabilities that could build entire worlds. "For 30 years, Lisa continued, humanity chose to appear less advanced than we were. We did this to avoid frightening our neighbors and to learn about galactic civilization from the inside. We shared some of our technology, but only the safest applications. We accepted restrictions on our growth even though we could have expanded much faster. We played the role of eager students learning from wise teachers." Admiral Kelros found his voice. "You lied to us for 3 decades? We omitted information," Lisa corrected. "Everything we told you was true. We simply didn't tell you everything. When we said we were grateful for your guidance, we were. When we said we were learning from you, we were. You taught us a great deal about galactic politics, economics, and the various species we share the galaxy with. The implications were staggering. Every human request for expansion had been carefully calculated to appear modest while actually advancing their hidden agenda. Every technology they had shared had been selected to help the galaxy while concealing their true capabilities. Every diplomatic negotiation had been an intelligence-gathering operation disguised as partnership. Chief Military Advisor General Krikstar stepped forward. "What do you want from us now?" Lisa's expression became more serious. "We want to establish honest relationships based on reality rather than illusion. Humanity is not a young species learning to fit into galactic civilization. We are an advanced technological civilization that has chosen to coexist with our neighbors. The terms of that coexistence must reflect the truth of what we are." The main display changed again, showing economic data from across council space. The devastation caused by humanity's withdrawal was laid out in stark numbers. Collapsed trade routes, failed research projects, industrial shutdown, supply shortages. The past 6 months have demonstrated how deeply human activities were integrated Into your civilization, Lisa said. This was not intentional dependence. We simply made ourselves useful while pursuing our own goals. But the effect is the same. Your economy cannot function without human participation. Prime Minister Zethkri felt the weight of leadership pressing down on him. What are your terms for resuming trade and cooperation? First, all restrictions on human expansion are void. Humanity will establish colonies where we choose, when we choose, according to our own needs and goals. The council members shifted uncomfortably, but nobody objected. They had no choice. Second, previous trade agreements are canceled. New agreements will be negotiated based on the actual value of what each party brings to the relationship. This was harder to accept. The old agreements had been favorable to council species because they thought humans needed their help. New agreements would reflect humanity's true capabilities. Third, humans will resume scientific cooperation, but we will be equal partners, not students. Research projects will be truly collaborative, with each party contributing according to their strengths. And if we refuse these terms, asked the Vorthan representative. Lisa's smile never wavered. Then humanity will continue to develop on our own. We've proven we don't need your permission or cooperation to thrive, but you've proven you need ours. She gestured to the fleet surrounding Nexus Prime. These ships represent 6 months of accelerated production using technologies we've been developing in secret for 30 years. If we continue at this pace, within a year we'll have a fleet that could protect or conquer the entire galaxy. Within 5 years we could build artificial worlds that surpass anything nature has created. The threat was clear but not aggressive. Humanity wasn't planning to conquer anyone. They were simply demonstrating that they had the power to do so, if they chose. We prefer cooperation to conquest, Lisa continued. We believe the galaxy is better when species work together, sharing knowledge and resources for mutual benefit. But that cooperation must be between equals, not between teachers and students or rulers and subjects. On Earth, President Morrison watched the negotiations from the same bunker where she had planned humanity's withdrawal. The gamble had worked perfectly. By revealing their true capabilities, humans had shifted from junior partners to dominant force in galactic politics. Defense Secretary Carter reported from his station. All fleets are in position. Every major council world has human ships in their system. Not threatening, just present. A reminder of our capabilities. The strategy was psychological as much as military. Humanity didn't want to rule the galaxy through fear. They wanted to establish their position as the dominant technological civilization, and then work with others from that position of strength. Chief of Technology Walsh added, Phase 5 is ready if needed. The manufacturing worlds can increase production by another 300% if we decide to expand our presence. But President Morrison hoped Phase 5 wouldn't be necessary. The goal was peaceful coexistence based on mutual respect, not galactic domination. Back in the council chamber, the debate was reaching its conclusion. The representatives understood their situation. They could accept humanity's new position, or watch their civilization collapse. Prime Minister Zethkri made the decision that would reshape galactic history. The Council accepts your terms, Representative Harper. We welcome humanity as an equal partner in galactic civilization. Lisa's smile became genuinely warm. Thank you, Prime Minister. I believe this marks the beginning of a new era of cooperation based on truth rather than illusion. As the human fleet began to deploy throughout Council space, establishing new trade routes and defense positions, the galaxy's power structure had permanently changed. Humanity was no longer the eager students learning from ancient civilizations. They were the technological leaders who would guide galactic development for centuries to come. The Council had learned a painful lesson about making assumptions based on appearances. They had thought humanity's cooperative nature indicated weakness, never suspecting it was a choice that could be withdrawn. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. More importantly, it would never again be the same galaxy it had been before humans revealed what they were truly capable of achieving. In hidden bases throughout human space, construction continued on projects that would revolutionize galactic civilization. Humanity had shown only a small sample of their capabilities. The rest would be revealed gradually, as their neighbors proved ready to accept the new reality. The age of human restraint was over. The age of human leadership had begun,